So, one of the things that has really bothered everybody about Shemot Va'era is that the story of the appointment of Moshe is doubled. It happened twice. And we almost forget this because this is one of those times that the Parsha break is really quite to our disadvantage, because we only read Va'era next week, and therefore it takes you a while to get back to it. But you have two completely different stories, almost, and there are a lot of points that we could draw out of them, but I'll focus on one. But let me just prove it, and then maybe you can think about some others. So here, one is in Perek Gimel of Shemot, and we get Moshe hayaroed soni trochot no kohen midyan v'nhaget eratzon acharon midbar v'yavo al har Elohim choreva. So Moshe is a shepherd. He's shepherding his father-in-law's flock. He's in the desert. He reaches Chorev. Vayira malach Adonai elav bila bat eish mitoch hasneh vayar v'hinei hasneh boer ba'eish v'asneh nenu ukal. And he sees the burning bush, and it is not burnt up. Vayomer Moshe Asurunai ve'ared amareh agadol hazeh madua lo yivar hasneh. So Moshe turns to it and says, "Let me see this amazing thing. Why is this not burning?" Vayar Adonai kisar l'rot. Vayikra elav Elohim mitoch hasneh. Vayomer Moshe vayomer hineni. In the past, I've talked about this pasuk, which I love, right? Which is God saw that he turned to see. Right? There's this beautiful emphasis over on Moshe's ability to see that which other people don't see, and that God perceives that in him, perceives his ability to perceive. Vayomer al tekrav halom, shal na'alecha me'al raglecha, ki me'al kol ma she'adam mid alav admat kodeshu. So he says, take off your shoes, you're in a holy place. Vayomer anochi Eloi avicha, Eloi Avraham, Eloi Yitzchak, Eloi Yaakov, Vayester Moshe mipanav, ki arei mebid Elohim. He says, I am the God of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and he hides his face. Vayomer Adonai, Ro reiti eroni ami, asher b'mitzrayim zakatam shamati, mi b'nei noksav giadati et machot, va'ir dat zilo miyad, and it goes on, right? And then, if you skip, what does Moshe say? So, right, in first Hashem says, V'atal lechav, summary, lechav ashlachal parov, otzeir ami b'nei Yisrael mitzrayim, go to Mitzrayim. This is very long, right? This goes on like 20-something psukim. And what does Moshe say? Vayomer Moshe Elohim, mi anochi gilecha parov, v'chiyotzi b'nei Yisrael mitzrayim, who am I that I should go? Vayomer ki yemach, v'zeh lecha od, ki anochi shalach dicha, v'tziachal ha'am mitzrayim, tabun et Elohim al arzeh. It's not you, it's me, I'm with you. Vayomer Moshe Elohim, hinenochi va el b'nei Yisrael, v'amarti lahem Elohei, avotechem shalachani elechem, v'imru li mashmo v'amar alehem. He says, and they're going to ask me their name, and this goes on. This is pasuk Yudalid. What name should I tell them about you?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Exactly, and this, right?
But then the second time it's a
and then get this Kainim, and tell them that I'm going to take you out, and they will listen to you, and I will give you favor in their eyes, and etc. This goes, that's all of Perek Gimel. And we're still talking by the time we get to Perek Daled. Right, so that's 22 psukim. And Moshe says, but they won't listen to me, they won't believe me. So Hashem gives them all the proofs and all the signs. I don't know if you've ever noticed how long this dialogue goes on, right? This is pasuk. Then on the 33rd pasuk of this speech, Vayomer Moshe Adonai, Bi Adonai, Lo ish dvarim anochi, gam mitmol gam shulshom, gam me'az daber chalav decha, ki chad per chad lashon anochi. I don't want to go, I'm hard of speech. And God says, well, who gave man the ability to talk? Go, and I will be with you. And then, again, this is all of Perek Gimel, now halfway through Perek Daled, Vayomer Bi Adonai, shlach na b'yat tishlach. And Moshe says, no, don't send me. Send the one you want to send, but not me. And finally, after 35 psukim, Vayicharaf Adonai b'Moshe, Vayomer halo Aharon achicha Levi, yadati ki yidaberhu, v'gam hinehu yotzei lekradecha v'ra'acha v'samach b'libo, v'dibarti levasamta dvarim b'fiv, anochi eyam picha v'impiu, v'reiti etchem esher tasun. Right? Hashem finally has some sort of compromise. He yells at him and he says, listen, just go. You're having trouble, Aharon will go with you, and he will be your spokesman, and it will be okay, and do what I say. He will talk to the nation, you will be his God, right? And take this stick, okay? That is 39 psukim in to this speech, okay? But it gets worse, and this is, right, that when you open Va'era, Right? Literally, the first pasuk in Vayera, after this whole speech, finally Moshe agrees. It's 39 psukim. A parak later in Vayera, Vayidaber lehem Moshe, Vayirmei laveni Adonai, Vayira l'Avraham el-Yitzchak v'el-Yaakov b'el Shaddai, Shmi Adonai lo nodati lehem. The speech starts again. And he says, by the way, I'm God. You know, I didn't introduce myself with the name Hashem to the Avod, Gama Kimoti Hedbriti Itam, etc., etc. And I've heard the suffering of the Bnei Israel, and therefore you should go, and you should take it as a nation, and I will take them out. And then he says, Bo daber el Paro melech Mitzrayim, v'yishlach v'daber Moshe lefnei Hashem lefnei Adonai lemor, hein ben Israel lo shamu elai, ich shmi Paro v'nei Yisrael svatayim. The Jews are not listening to me. How is Paro going to? V'daber Adonai el Moshe ve'el Aharon v'yitzavim ben Israel v'Paro melech Mitzrayim lo tzii ben Israel Mitzrayim. So he says to Moshe and Aharon, tell him to let you go. Right. So we have 39 psukim, a few psukim break, and then we have the whole thing all over again. So we talked about this a little bit last year, because there are a million different things that you can say on what is going on here. Is this meant to be the same speech? Is this a summary? Are these two different incidents? Like, what is going on? Every one of the Mefarshim wants to pick up on it. But let me pick up on one aspect that I didn't last year, and that is the role of Aharon. Okay? In the first version, in Shemot, after 39 psukim, God finally gets angry, and he says, fine. You're having trouble. You don't think the Jews are going to listen to you, so I'm going to send you a spokesman. I'm going to send you Aharon. Okay? He'll talk on your behalf. Is that better? Okay? Just go. It'll be okay. I'll be with you. Just go. What's Aaron's role there?
Spokesperson.
Yeah, he's like a nothing. Like, if you wanted the strongest formulation of that, it's... Right, he will be your spokesman, and what is Moshe to Aharon?
God to Moshe.
Yes, right? You will be, right? Right, that's what the pasuk says. Right? The pasuk says, right, he's not exaggerating. The pasuk says, Va'ata tiye lo le'Elohim. Right? You shall be to him Elohim, which yes means Sar v'Shofet. But this is a particularly strong language, right? You are going to be his God, essentially, right? You are God. He is whatever. Right, he is your spokesman. Fine. Okay? Second speech. Vayidaber Adonai el Moshe ve'el Aharon vayitzavim el bnei Israel ve'el Paro melech Mitzrayim lo tzii bnei Israel me'eretz Mitzrayim. If you read the speech in Vayera, God is speaking
To both.
to Moshe and Aharon.
They're on the same level, kind of.
Yes, right? There are many differences between these two speeches. But the one we didn't focus on last year is this. In the version in Shemot, again, right now I don't want to try to figure out, are these two speeches? Is it two records of the same speech? Is it, what order? How did this happen? Right? That's what all the Mefarshim try to figure out. How many years passed between this? If you remember, we talked about this last year, right? Meaning, is this...
They're different.
Are they different? But even if they are different, how many years are these like in 1 week? Is this like difference of years? Right? Like the possibility that after that whole incident to Malone, he goes back, right? And therefore has to be sent again, right? Well, all different possibilities. But in the first speech, Moshe is the leader and Aharon is not. In the second speech, Moshe and Aharon are together, and you see this. And I was listening to a shir by Dr. Yehuda Brandes, where Rabbi Doctor, I don't know, right? He's the head of the Machon Herzog at Yeshivat Har Tzion at the Teachers College, and he noted that this is actually systematic. That if you go through Chumash, you go through Shemot, half the time you find Aharon as the identity of his own leader. Moshe and Aharon each have roles, and half the time Moshe is Moshe and Aharon is his assistant, right? Is whatever. And then he argues that this is because there are really two very different perspectives. That Moshe really, there's a complexity here about Moshe. There are two ways that Moshe and Aharon are introduced in Tanakh. The first time we meet Moshe, how do we meet Moshe? As a baby. And in that story, what is the feeling you get from that story?
He's special.
Yes, because everybody else is nameless. Right? Everybody else is nameless in that entire story. There's a man and a woman from Levi who have a child who is saved miraculously by Bat Paro, and his name is Moshe. He is unique. He stands alone. He is, right, he's special. But later on, we actually get the identity of it. We get another introduction to Moshe, where in Va'era, where we get a whole list. Elo Rashi Beit Avotam Bnei Reuven B'chor Yisrael. We get a whole lineage of the Jewish people until Levi. Right, like we go Reuven, Shimon, and then we stop at Levi, and we get Vaikach Amram et Yocheved Dodato lo liisha, Vatil lo et Aharon vet Moshe ushnei Chayei Amram shevo shloshim mad shana. And Amram and Yocheved had two sons, Amram and Aharon and Moshe. And Vaikach Aharon et Elisheva bar Aminadav achot Nachshon lo liisha. And Aharon gets married. Who Aharon and Moshe asher amar Adonai lehem otziu bnei Yisrael me'eretz Mitzrayim l'tzivotam. And this is the Aharon and Moshe that I told to take you out of Egypt. So Shemot tells you a story in which Moshe is this miraculous leader with no parents and no siblings and no family and no history, right? Except that, like, a bunch of anonymous people got together and the miraculous baby was born and ended up in the palace, right? Va'era tells us a story where there's Reuven and Shimon and Levi, and in Levi eventually has descendants from Amram, two amazing people, Moshe and Aharon, who go, and they were the ones who went to save the Jews. Heima medabrim el Paro melech Mitzrayim, lotzia b'nei Yisrael Mitzrayim, hu Moshe ve'Aharon. Right, if you were missing this emphasis. And he says that this is the complexity. Moshe is, because of his greatness, because of where he grew up, is an outsider. He is taken by God to be an outsider. As we already quoted from the Ibn Ezra, this was on purpose. Right? People wouldn't take him seriously if he'd grown up amongst the Jews. He had to be an outsider. And sometimes he functions as that outsider, as that person from without, who's just impressive and overwhelming. And in those times, Aharon is just
conduit.
He's just his spokesman, right? There's no one who can approach Moshe. To the extent that Aharon is there, right, he's just a normal guy, and Moshe, and he helps Moshe out. But that type of leadership is not successful by itself. But you also need a leader who the people trust, who's from within. And Aharon is kol kulo within. He has an identity. He comes from people, right? There's Reuven, there's Shimon, and there's Levi, and Levi has descendants, and Amram has Moshe and Aharon. And sometimes Aharon is equal when the leadership that is called for is the leadership from within. And therefore there are these two perspectives. There's Aharon being called with Moshe when they need an insider perspective, and then it's who Moshe and Aharon. They're both there because without Aharon, Moshe cannot be that person. And sometimes you see Aharon in Moshe's outsider, semi-godlike role where people don't understand him. And those two aspects of Aharon, come out in different stories. So just to give one example, because we're already going over time, he says by the Egel you see this. By the Egel, it's very clear that Aharon is the people's leader and Moshe is the outsider. Because that's the whole speech. That they say to Aharon, Kizeh Moshe ha'ish lo yadanu maya lo, aseh lanu Elohim. Asher l'chu levaneinu. We don't know what happened to Moshe, so make us a god. And Aharon fails. Right? Aharon lets them do it. Right? Whatever you think he was doing, he was stalling, but they're going to Aharon when they panic that this outsized personality, Moshe, has disappeared. So they turn to Aharon, not as Moshe's conduit, but he's gone, what do we do, right? They're the people he trusts, and he makes mistakes because he's of the people. Moshe doesn't make mistakes like that, right? Moshe is never of the people. Moshe is, and he points out that even when Moshe goes up to Har Sinai, right, which is the epitome of Moshe being the other, right? He is with God, not with the people. Who does he bring with him? He brings Yoshua, who sits and waits for him, not Aharon. Aharon stays with the people. To the extent that he has a leader who follows in his footsteps and is can sit on Har Sinai for 40 days, even if he doesn't go up to Shamayim, that's Yehoshua, that's his student. Aaron is a different model of leadership. And so Brandis says that's really what you have to notice in Chumash as you follow, is that there's constantly this tension, that Aaron plays two very different roles, depending on the role that Moshe is playing at that time. When you need a leader from within the people, Aaron is equal to Moshe. When Moshe is functioning as this outsider, this God representative, Aaron is the conduit, because he's amongst the people. He doesn't have that type of otherworldly gravitas. Okay, and these are the two perspectives you have to watch. And the challenge, as you note, is trying to figure out why, in different circumstances, does Aaron come in different places, right? Because as you watch that through the Makkah, places where Aaron is or is not involved, and in what way is involved, and his stick involved, and his staff, right? You start to get a picture of what is the purpose of each Makkah, what type of what is the feeling of that moment. A lot of it is going to hang on, or you'll be able to tell based on how Aaron is presented what type of moment is being conveyed. Okay, that is a little bit over time, but